Right, it's so lovely to see so many people in August. I thought there might be, a couple of people and their dog, in the corner somewhere. But anyway, it's lovely to see you. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Liz. I am one of the leaders here, and I'm also have a paid role here as the operations manager. So, say no more about that. Okay, so I was going to talk about the gifts of the Spirit and the fruit of the Spirit, but then God had other plans. So what we're talking about this week and next week is healing, okay? And for me, and also for Gareth, this is sort of like our vision of healing, going for a really good walk in nature. So that's why I chose that slide. So, as I said, there's 2 weeks. What's going to happen this morning is I'm going to have a very short talk, okay? And then what I'd like you guys to do is to go and grab a coffee and then talk together in your group, okay? There's some questions for you. There's some scriptures for you. Now, if you don't want to do any of that, that's okay, because it's not forced. But I just thought it'd be a really good opportunity for people to share their stories together. But first of all, I'm going to tell you a story. Now, when Graham does this, I always think, who's he talking about? Is it a true story? Is it about himself? Is it about? And you never know. But it's always a laugh. Now, this story is not going to be a laugh. So I just need to tell you that it's going to be a sad story, okay? But it's my personal story. It's true. Well, it's my truth anyway. Everybody else will have had different truths about this. And also, it's quite sad. Okay, so, oh dear, I don't want to cry. So thank you, Phil. So, to cut a long story short, 15 years ago, a very good friend of mine died in this church. And in the 4 years or so before that, we literally went to war against the illness that she had, which happened to be cancer. And we all felt, the people that were praying for her, a lot of the people that were praying for her, this isn't everybody's story, this is my story, felt that she was going to be healed, that God was going to heal her. Not when she went to heaven, but when she was on this earth, that she was going to be totally healed. She wasn't healed. She died. But during that 4 years, we believed it so much that she was going to be healed that we had 2 prayer meetings a week. Can you imagine that? 2 prayer meetings a week, just praying for her to be healed. I also went round to her house once a week on my own to pray for her to be healed. We also prayed for her most Sundays to be healed. It was a really big thing in this church, and a lot of you will remember this. And at that time, I think our idea of faith, and I'll come on to this a bit more later, is that our idea of faith at that time was that with certainty, you knew that God was going to heal. That God was going to heal her. She was going to be healed from cancer. And that was definitely the way that I looked at things. And as you can imagine, that doesn't seem to be biblical, and it doesn't seem to be true that faith is all about being certain. But there was a culture, and it's not just in this church. At that time, there was a culture across the world where if you just said the right words, if you just had enough faith, if the person being prayed for had enough faith, if all the people in the room had enough faith, then that person was going to be healed. And then you can imagine the culture around that. So if you weren't healed, if you were the person that didn't get healed, there was shame around that. If you were the person praying for the person to be healed, there was shame around that. And if you were one of the other people praying, there was shame around it. This church is not about shame. On no account are we ever about shame. That's one of the things that we believe really strongly about, is that we're not about shame. It's all about grace. It's all about forgiveness. It's all about love. It's all about being comforted. So I think this is only my perspective. I've spoken to other people and they don't have the same perspective. But in those days, I was one of these people, and I'd be healed in Jesus' name. You know, I was that person. Yeah. And then, of course, at the same time, there were lots of people on the God channel that were up there, mention no names, on the stage, and they claimed that thousands of people were being healed. They'd have people coming on with their wheelchairs, and then they'd get off the wheelchairs the other side, and you had all of this going on, and these people were put up on pedestals, and then, of course, they were human, they did something wrong, so there was loads of scandal, and then that church, you know, we couldn't talk about that church anymore because that's happened. We can't talk about this church anymore because this has happened. So all of this was going on. Sorry, this is my reality. Forgive me if this is not your reality. But I'm just confessing today. That's what happened. But I definitely feel that when my friend died, things changed in this church. You know, we didn't have prayer ministry on a Sunday morning anymore. We couldn't even mention healing a lot of the time. Do you know what I mean? It really did. Culturally, it did affect our church. Fortunately, things are changing. We're starting to get prayer ministry, thanks to James and others. We are changing. But I just wanted to mention that in the context of healing. And apologies that I'm actually talking about this on a Sunday morning in August, but it's all Josh's fault. Where is he? That's it, yeah. Do you remember you had that service about a month ago, was it? Where you didn't finish till 12:30 when everybody was going, God, it's 12:30. He's still talking. When is he going to finish? But during that service, I had a real encounter with God, and I really felt that God was calling me personally to share my story with you and to talk about healing again and to start believing it. So hence why I'm talking about it today and next week. Okay, so, you know, hands up, I've got healing scars. And there might be other people in the room that have got healing scars, or there might not be anybody with healing scars, because you might, every time you've prayed for healing, somebody's been healed, or you've seen miraculous things happen, and that's absolutely wonderful. But we're going to walk our way through it. That's all I've had to say about that, really. So let's go on. So that's sort of the negative news. Okay, we're going on to more positive stuff now. You'll be pleased to know. Okay, so this week, well, I'm just going to do a sort of like introduction to what do we know about healing. What do we know about? You know, what can we be sure about healing? And then next week we'll take it a little bit further. Okay, so what do we know? So the first thing we know is that God is healer. Yeah, everybody okay with that? God is healer. That's one of his names. And also Jesus actually seemed to do quite a lot of healing. Yeah, everybody look at their scriptures on the table. Jesus did a lot of healing. And again, you may not agree with me on this, but I believe that all healing that takes place in this universe, in this world, is God at work. So whether you've been healed from a cold, or whether you've sat in the presence of God and felt his presence, it's all God. God is healer. So anything happens healing-wise, whatever it is, God is at work. Some people have a special gift around healing. And that, I believe that to be true. And again, that's what it says in the Bible, that some people have a special gift. And when they lay on hands, you're more likely to be healed. But it's all about grace. It's all about grace. So nothing's deserved. We don't put these people on pedestals. It's just all about grace. And everything that we receive from God is all about grace. Healing itself is all about grace. Now, as humans, we're made up of our body, our soul, so that's our mind, our will, and our emotions, and our spirit, which is the bit that's connected to God. But basically, we can be healed. We're all connected, so you can't sort of separate your spirit over here, and then you've got your soul over here, and then you've got body over here. We're one, aren't we? So we don't know what goes on inside us, but we do know that when we encounter God, something happens, some sort of healing happens if we surrender. So I would be so bold as to say whenever we have an encounter with God, we are healed in some way. We just perhaps don't know how we've been healed. So this is where I bring in the word mystery. I believe that certainly as I get older, everything's more and more of a mystery. And a mystery, you can take it two ways. A mystery could be, we just don't know. But I've heard a theologian that says that mystery is about endlessly knowing. So it's very sci-fi, isn't it? That you can go into this dimension and you can endlessly know the divine. And that's what mystery is. It's this place in a different dimension where we can endlessly know the divine. So, but it can also mean we just don't know. And I think it means both, basically, personally. I think it means both. So that is what I think we know about healing. We do not have the answers. Well, I certainly don't. So if somebody's got the answers, let me know afterwards. Okay. So that's all I've got to say today. So what I want to do next is for you all to go and get teas, coffees, and come and sit around your tables. And there's some scriptures, there's some questions, and I just want you to talk together, okay, and see how you get on. As I say, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to. But yeah, okay, thank you.